16 minutes ago, the president tweeted this out. Mueller and the attorney general, based on Mueller findings and great intel, have already ruled no collusion, no obstruction. These were crimes committed by Crooked Hillary, the DNC, dirty cops, and others. Investigate the investigators. Let's bring in an investigator. Fox News contributor, former New York City cop, former Secret Service guy, fellow who wrote a great bestseller called Spygate, the attempted sabotage of Donald J. Trump. Mr. Dan Bongino joins us from Palm City down in Florida. All right, Mr. Bongino, it sounds like the president knows that the Mueller report is coming out, and he's ready to be exonerated.
Yeah, well, he should be. He should be deeply offended that the Mueller investigation even existed in the first place. Here's what's going on. Let me just give you the behind the scenes, okay? Bob Mueller and his investigation knew immediately that collusion was a hoax, guys. There was, and Jed, there was no information there at all. There was no evidence. All they had to build this case on is the dossier, okay? You have to keep that in your head as I'm talking about this. Mueller knows right away collusion's a hoax. So what was the point of his investigation then? Why didn't he come out right away and say, "Dear America, we're investigating a hoax, let everybody move on"? Well, the reason is the Mueller probe was designed to keep the heat on President Trump the entire time to diminish his presidency. So they had to open up a new investigation. That new investigation was into a judgment crime, which was obstruction of justice. And that's why the Democrats are so eager for this new report to push their next narrative of obstruction.
But you got to figure that with 400 pages, there's going to be negative information. It's going to be something for his opponent, and he's got plenty to latch onto. According to Axios, the one thing they're worried about is the over 30 hours that Don McGahn, his attorney, spent with special counsel. Because at which time, you know the president, he thinks it's a hoax. He says it to everyone. He's angry as heck. Did he ever bring up to Don McGahn, I'm going to fire this guy. I can fire this guy, right? And if Don McGahn turns around and says, yeah, did the president ever say he wanted to fire him? He goes, oh, yeah, he did a bunch of times. That's between these two, but that's going to be in black and white. And there the opponents would say, there's your obstruction.
Brian, let me just sum up what you just said from a former criminal investigator's perspective. You said there's going to be negative information. Yes, it's tautological. If I ran an investigation into Brian Kilmeade, anyone on the panel, me included, everybody has negative information in their lives. Did you, I mean, you know, listen, when I ran for office once, we were having some money problems. We almost missed a mortgage payment. That's negative information. That's not the question. The question is, did I commit a crime? And the answer is no. That's why we have a standard for evidence before dragging someone's butt into court and charging them with a crime. The standard for arrest is probable cause. It's not, did you do something negative? This Eric Swalwell, Jerry Nadler, Adam Schiff nonsense said, well, there's going to be negative stuff in there. Okay. Adam Schiff, why don't you volunteer for an investigation into you? Let's find out what negative information out there is on you, too. It's not the standard to put handcuffs on someone. Is there negative information? That's absurd.
Dan, as I said, after I read that tweet, the president expects to be vindicated, but there's that ambiguous stuff there that's something for everybody. If you like him, you're going to say, okay, he was exonerated. If you don't like him, you're going to say, look, guilty, guilty, guilty.
Yep. And we also have to, go ahead, Dan.
No, I'm just saying, you're just making my point that that's why the Mueller probe focused on obstruction. It's a judgment call. I used to joke in the NYPD we had disorderly conduct. That meant 1,000 things to 1,000 different cops. That's what obstruction of justice is. I could give you 1,000 different reasons the president didn't obstruct justice, and I'm sure someone who doesn't like him can invent a couple more why they think he did.
Dan, there's also a really new, interesting take from Representative Mark Meadows on the media's role in leaking classified information and how that played into all of this. Let's take a listen. I want to get your reaction.
Sure. What we would find is people within the Department of Justice, primarily the FBI, would actually give information to the media. Then those reports would actually come out and they would say, wow, we have these reports now, and then they would take the actual reports and use those as the probable cause to do a further investigation. It was a big circular reasoning. You'll see all of that come out.
Now he's talking about the IG report, obviously investigating the investigators, a key topic. What do you make of what he said, though?
Here's what Meadows is telling you here. This is genius what the FBI did in the targeting of Donald Trump. And I'm talking about the higher-ups, again, not the rank and file men and women here. What they did was they took information that came in through Hillary Clinton and other sources and illegal spying. That information was leaked to the press. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's a chain of custody problem here for the upper members of the FBI because only a few of them had that information. Notably, the Mike Flynn phone call. Very few people had contact with that. Whoever leaked that to David Ignatius, they narrowed this down to a very small group. They then used the leaking of that story that appeared in the press, in the Washington Post, and other stories as evidence to continue to target the same people they leaked the story to the press about. That's the circular reasoning he's talking about.
Right. It's going to be interesting because also I saw the Russian roulette book. I mean, someone was spoon-feeding Michael Isikoff and David Korn things that would come out a year later.
Well, Jim Baker, the general counsel for the FBI, who was Jim Comey's right-hand guy, they were tied together at the hip, has already admitted in a sworn deposition that they had a relationship with David Korn and the information. You know, you got to remember, Brian, some of the media figures here are co-conspirators in this in sworn depositions under oath. I'm not making this up. You can read this all yourself. The FBI folks have already admitted to it.
Yeah, and as a journalist, you follow up on leads. Someone goes, hey, I got to talk to you about a case. You're a journalist. You get your pen out.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
So you
the problem Korn's going to have, Brian, is Korn fed the information to the FBI and wrote the story anyway. He claims, oh, I gave it to the FBI for them to verify it. Yeah, but they never verified it. So why did you write the story? You can't have it both ways.
Just can't make it up. All right, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I'm glad you lost your
thanks,
election,
guys.
Dan, because you never would have been here.
Never happened, buddy.